And we're back. No,
That's going to be so loud to edit out. We're back for the 12th time.
Love it. We're in it.
Little Timmy had to get his tum filled up. Some pizzas.
I did eat some pizza.
Fish more gooder with Tim and Dave. Ow.
As we were talking about leading up to this, you won your first tournament, 17.
Mm-hmm.
Buckeye Lures.
Yeah.
Where's it gone from there? That's what we want to hear. From tournament at 17, pro fisherman.
Yeah. It's crazy, man. And I feel like anything else, like most sports, you have different tiers of anything. You have your recreational league, you have your, the step above that, you have college, you have semi-pro, you have pro, you have, then you're a superstar and all the above, and fishing's no different. Bass fishing has come such a long way, and even since I fished college. So growing up, fished a ton. I didn't really get into fishing tournaments until I was, I think, 17. It's the first, 16, 17 is when I first started to do it. And, I grew up, I was a hockey player. So all of the major tournaments were all around the time where I had to go back to camp, or I had to do, I had hockey obligations where I couldn't fish these tournaments. Well, fast forward a little bit, the hockey career is done. I'm going to finish up my degrees in school, and lived with one of my best friends in college, and he had started a bass fishing team at Slippery Rock University, which is a little school a little bit north of Pittsburgh. We had been fishing team tournaments together forever. Mm-hmm. So he was like, "Hey man, come to this school. Let's finish up your degree, order of importance there." And so we started fishing together in the college circuit. Had some success, and it was FLW at the time, now MLF, but they, along with BASS and Boat US, have done an incredible job developing college anglers and putting together circuits for college anglers to fish. Because let's be honest, traveling across the country fishing, there's a price tag to that. Gas is expensive.
Oh God, yeah.
Boats are incredibly expensive. All the stuff that you want to get and fish with and tackle equipment. There's all a price tag to that. So for a college kid, that can be extremely difficult. And these organizations and the schools have backing for the college fishing to allow them to not only fish at a high level against people their own age, but they're not fishing across the country, probably going to lakes that they've never been to. And that's kind of where that bug starts of traveling, fishing tournaments, and, getting to know a group of guys hanging out after a day of fishing, and make friends and build lifelong friendships with that. So that's what we did. And that's what I was introduced to, and had some success there. I won a college tournament at Slippery Rock on the Potomac River. And that year, I won that event, and on the Toyota Series Northern Division, I was Angler of the Year on the co-angler side. And then that same year, after a heartbreak second place finish on Lake Oneida, went to Table Rock Lake in Branson, Missouri, and was able to somehow win the Toyota Series National Championship. And I won a boat with that one, and that was really the push, so to speak, into the quote unquote pro world. Mm-hmm. But yeah, broke college kid and got devastated by taking second place, not winning a boat, and then have a pretty incredible event right after that, and got it done. But that's how the jump came to this professional, so to speak, fishing, semi-pro kind of thing. And man, it's awesome. It really is a special sport.
Yeah, I do see that a lot. Like when I'm watching on TV, you see the advertisement for those, tournaments, as a co-angler, win the boat, or, and so forth,
They're very, it's so true too. Like the biggest thing for me as a co-angler walking into it was, one, if you can catch more than the guy in the front of the boat, your pro, you had a good day.
Mm-hmm.
But you learn so much, you know, and you don't necessarily have to be paired with, you know, an incredible fisherman to learn something from them. You know, I was very fortunate that you got paired with a lot of Elite Series guys, the Johnson brothers, Matt Airy, Tom Reddington, you know, a lot of guys that have fished at the pro level for a long time. But, you know, I learned just as much or more from some of these local sticks that are incredible fishermen but maybe have either not taken the opportunities or not been given the opportunities to make the jump to the next level. So just the learning aspect that you get from being a co-angler is, you know, invaluable.
So I have one question about being a co-angler.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you enter a tournament as a co-angler, is it like a draw for who you go with, or do you have to like actually talk to someone beforehand and like sign up as their co-angler, or how does that work?
So it's a draw. So anytime you are a co-angler, you're basically fishing a completely different tournament. You're fishing against all the co-anglers, fishing against all the pros. But yes, it is completely random. So you get paired. If it's a single day event, you get a random draw. If it's a multi-day event, you get 2 random draws. So you're paired with, you know, X guy on day 1. You're paired with Y guy on day 2, and that's how they kind of even the playing field. So, you know, if a co-angler gets paired with a guy that's crushing fish and has a great day on day 1, you know, he gets paired with another random guy on day 2 just to level the playing field.
What about what are the rules for like how many rods can you bring as a co-angler? Or like, I assume it's like you can't bring 3 backpacks worth of stuff,
right?
And 12 rods. And this guy's like, damn it, like I got nothing, I got no space on my own boat, you know. Like, and I also assume it's like you bring $100 for gas, you know, or bring something, you know. Look, the dude, don't just use the guy's gas for free and not, you know. But like, because I know for a fact Tim's gonna go sign up to be a co-angler. He's gonna bring 12 rods. He's gonna bring a backpack and a duffel bag, and dude, he might bring an old school boom box and a piece of cardboard, do some break dancing.
Yeah,
and Dave just knows I demand like $50 of gas money from him every time I take him out.
Oh yeah, well you gotta help out, you know.
Sure, yeah.
You know. I try to win it back, but you know,
yeah, heck yeah. But you're right, man. There are. I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was 6 rods, and you were allowed 1 tackle bag and 1 foul weather bag, so you could put your rain gear and all that stuff in there.
Oh, okay.
So, you know, 2 bags and 6 rods, and I believe that's what it's capped at. I don't know. I've only ever seen one like argument on the boat about how many rods a co-angler had. It was not my boat, because I tell all my co-anglers this. I'm like, I think that every boater or pro should have to fish as a co-angler at least once. And they're like, why? I was like, well, I was a co-angler, and it's hard, man. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like, condense all your fishing stuff into a bag.
Oh yeah.
Narrow it down to only 6 rods and reels. But I mean, that wasn't too tough for me because I didn't have many rods at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but like, half the time you've never been to the lake before. So what do you bring? You know, and I'm going to bring as much as I can. So I'm sure I was the co-angler. My boaters were looking at me like, dang, this kid must have brought like everything he owned. And I don't know how he got it into that bag.
Right. You get on the boat, the actual pros. He's like, "You bringing your dad with, or what's going on? Like, you know, is your grandma gonna fish with us? What's going on?"
Yeah, we're back.
Well, then, and you're subject to wherever the angler wants to fish, or wherever the pro wants to fish. Like, that's where you're fishing, and you have to adjust to that.
Exactly.
As the co-angler.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, like, you touch base with your pro the night before, and you're like, "Hey, you know, what are we doing? What should I bring? What should I bring? You know, give me an idea of what we're doing tomorrow." So I don't bring, you know, a ton of tackle, but I mean, things change so much. I mean, I tell my co-angler all the time, like, "Hey, this is what we are going to be doing." You know, I always have an O-crap plan that, you know, if we don't catch them doing A, do B, and we might do C, but, you know, bring these things and you should be fine. But yeah, I mean, there's some guys that are pretty tight-lipped that for some reason thinking their co-angler's going to go tell like 50 guys what they're going to be doing the next day, but that doesn't happen.
In every sport and in every industry,
Exactly.
there's always that guy.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So when you have the angler and the co-angler, you're essentially fishing two different like tournaments. You're not combined like what you catch as a combined. It's two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was one thing I was like curious about. So even if you were approaching, sitting there, you're throwing, and you just have the worst co-angler ever, someone who's just paid the money to come enter a tournament, wanted to do it, and they're throwing their Zebco 33, and that's what they're fishing with. It's not going to really affect you.
Correct. No. But
okay,
is those dudes with the Zebco 33 always will catch the biggest fish of the day. I don't care if they only catch one. They will catch the giant.
Yep.
And that's my dad with his Zebco 33 and his worm every time.
Yep.
The biggest one.
Yeah, that might have been from earlier tonight.
Yeah, I like how it all came together. Not only is it the worm that caught the Zebco 33 that he throws, also catches the biggest fish.
It's the whole setup, man. It's the whole setup. You don't need anything fancy. You just need big worm and
those who do the heavy hitters tournament where you get all that money for the biggest fish. If you realize like there's no chance I'm going to win this, bust out your Zebco.
That's
just start throwing that because you're going to catch the biggest
June
fish.
bug worm you can find.
That's all you got to do.
Dude, oh my gosh, yeah.
So one thing I'm curious about, like the nerves, like going into a tournament, like what's that like? Like you're sitting on the boat, like before we take off, like I've never been in a fishing tournament, baseball tournaments, gymnastics, like done all that, and I know those nerves. Like, what's it like leading up to it? Like the anticipation.
Yeah, I think coming from an athletic background myself, it's the nervous excitement is a little bit different when it comes to fishing for a couple different reasons. I think the biggest thing is when you're playing a sport or like you're gearing up for a game or like you're in the locker room before, there's a physical component that is on you, right? Like I'm going to go out, I'm going to play, I'm going to tear it up. I'm going to mentally prepare myself for a good day. And at the end of the day, it's on me how I perform. It's similar in fishing to a certain extent, right? Because you could go out there and have had an unbelievable practice. And, you have a great day one, great day two. And then day three rolls around and the weather's completely different. Maybe the weather, the temperature dropped 30 degrees overnight. Maybe the wind completely switched directions. Maybe the wind started blowing 30 miles an hour instead of 5 miles an hour. Those are all factors that are completely out of your control. So it'd be like going to play an ice hockey game one day and then all of a sudden the next day the ice is melting. And you're like, shoot.
Yeah.
But on the opposite side of the coin, and where I think fishing is unique compared to other sports, is everybody's faced with those conditions, and the successful guys are going to be the ones that adjust to those outside factors not only more quickly but more efficiently than the rest of the competition. So when you talk about nervous excitement, before a sporting event, it's like, all right, you pump yourself up, let's go, let's run through a wall. A little bit different in fishing in the sense that you're like nervous, excited, like, all right, let's do this. I hope these fish are there when I get there. When I'm there, I'm going to crush them, I'm going to put them in the boat. But if they don't, at the same time, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be calm and collected. I'm going to think clearly through this. I'm going to make the next reasonable step. It's then a progression of thought and, kind of keeping a level head. But so, I still get nervous. But I think the nervousness in fishing is not the nervousness that I had in the sporting event where I knew there were, some scouts sitting up in the stands that are going to judge me to take me to the next level.
Yeah.
The nervous excitement in fishing was, I love this. I love fish. I sure hope those damn fish are there when I get there. You know?
Oh yeah. Do you when you
Yeah, no,
take
'cause
off? So like you're sitting there, you're at your boat, you're twiddling your fingers on the steering wheel or whatnot. Do you know what spot you're like? I need to get there. I need to start at this spot right now. And so this is now a two-part question. Then the second piece is: have you ever been like, I need to get to this one point, and then you're on your way to the point, and you go, hang on, that looks better, and you just go, my gut says I need to go into this cove, or I need to go fish these stumps, or
Yes.
something.
Yes to both. Because
Oh, nice.
yeah,
All right.
the tough part about that is I've been on. I mean, it's an it's a constant evolution in the morning sometimes, and to the point where it'll keep you up at night. If you have a horrible practice, you get up and you go where you caught fish. That's usually the easy one.
Yeah.
Got a good practice where you're like, I could go to that area and catch fish. I could go to that area and catch fish. There's 200 boats behind me that if I don't go to area 1, I'm not gonna I can't have both. So I gotta pick one because a bunch of guys are gonna be on area 2 because there's no secret spots anymore. There's no secret areas. That stuff doesn't exist. That'll keep you up at night. And I have 100% had my boat on played and racing out into the middle of the lake, not knowing where I was going because I couldn't make that decision between 1 and 2. So that's tough too. And then again, to your second question, there's been multiple times where my mind is set on going to spot A, and you kind of pass spot B, and you're like, give it the old double tap to the shoulder. You're like, yeah, all right, we're going. That happens.
Yeah.
But
that's awesome. Because I'm just like imagining myself, and I'm like, I could see my like full ADD moment being like, dang, I didn't know that stump was over there. I didn't know the tree was down right there. I got to go fish that real fast,
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with your boat number too. So say like there's 250 boats in the tournament and you draw boat 200 and like your primary spot, a ton of people on and everybody knows about it.
Yeah.
You're not getting there first. You're not going to get to where you want to go. So maybe go fish your B and C spot and try to go to A later in the day, or maybe it's just not an option today. But what's nice about how the boats work is if you're 200 on day 1, and there's 250 boats in the tournament, you're about 50 on day 2. So they flop where you're at. So then you can go to spot A potentially on day 2 that you couldn't go to on day 1.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I was going to be curious about that, how like the shotgun start works, like how many boats they let out at a time, the interval. Because there's bass fishing tournaments on Lake Shelbyville in Illinois that we go to, and every now and again in the morning we'll hear boats down from the dam just start ripping out up the lake. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah. I was trying to think what you were saying for a second.
Like I was up too late. Why do I just hear wah? All of a sudden just over the lake? Like I'm like, this is so loud.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Fast enough. Yeah, they're supposed to call. At least, so I've heard. I think the general rule of thumb is when they launch in the morning, they call a boat every second, and that so that depends.
Okay.
And that's relying on the guys to be in line, right? So they call boat 1, the boat 2, and boat 2 is like way back here. They wait for boat 2 to come up and blast off before they call boat 3. So the speed they get guys out is kind of dependent on us as well. But what's nice about having a late boat number is they give, I think it's like 15 minutes between each flight. And there's 15 boats, maybe 25 boats in each flight. I should probably know this, but at the end of the day, if you're boat 250 and they're calling 1 boat a minute, you potentially have 2 more hours to fish than the guy in the first flight.
I guess that's not a bad thing. Like you're gonna be out there a little bit later, and you can kind of see, what's been happening on the lake, and be like, all right, I have 2 extra hours. This guy came out in round 4, was in this area and crushing it. I'm gonna switch over there because he has to get off the lake.
Exactly. Yeah. So if I'm fishing a big tournament like that, I'd rather have a really early boat number or a really late boat number because I know at least one of those days I'm going to get first crack at where I want to go. Or
Yeah.
if you're the guy in the middle, you know, you don't really get to anywhere you want to go. First of all, you have kind of a mediocre day. You don't get a short day or a long day. You have kind of in the middle of everything. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm sure some guys will have different preferences, but I'd rather have one early day and one late day.
Does it affect it, or are there conditions, I guess, where being, boat 220 or 240, you get that extra time and you're like, oh, guess I'm one of the few boats that now gets to fish as it's 96 degrees outside,
Mm-hmm.
and now the sun drops and you have a temp drop.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's big bodies of water, so maybe it's not that big of a fluctuation.
That's actually
But I guess if it
great
dropped 3
question.
degrees, though,
time of day.
That's a
when
really
you need to fish.
But yes, to your point, it's huge. It can be huge. Times a year, it's huge.
Yeah.
So those fishing on beds, and you get a cold night, those females and those bigger fish aren't going to move up to where they're set up right for you to catch them. For you to catch them either sight fishing or flipping for them or whatever. That bite in the spring is almost inevitably going to be better at the end of the day if they're spawning because the water has had a chance to warm up.
Okay. Yeah.
Huge. The other aspect to it is, this is depending on where you're fishing in the country. If you fish lakes that there's any kind of tide or any type of water generation, whether it be from dams or different, if they're drawing current through, say, like the Tennessee River, if going back to the tidal thing, if you're catching your fish on a low tide, but low tide doesn't happen until 3:30 p.m. but you're doing it 3 o'clock, you're not going to get to fish that tide, or you're going to get the chance to fish it in the morning. Versus, timing plays a huge role in something like that too.
Yeah.
And again, on the Tennessee River, or these river lakes, so to speak, that have current drawn through them, or the Department of Resources can turn current on and off, water generation on and off. Fish will always bite better when there's some type of water movement. So, if you're out there and they start drawing water at 3 o'clock, but you got to weigh in at 3 o'clock, you're missing that whole window. And, some guys that maybe weigh in at 4:30 have that hour and a half to load the boat that you don't have.
Right. Dang.
So, yeah, good question. But yeah.
Yeah, that could be, especially, maybe not so much in the middle of July, but early or end of the year. Yeah, that could be a game changer.
It'd be super cold in the morning, but by, late day, you've hit, 75 degrees.
Yep.
But it's 40 when the first boat goes out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Now, that's huge, especially when you're down in Florida and you're fishing 1.5 feet of water. That surface temperature, that's what it is all the way down, man.
Yeah.
Getting under that. So that is a great question. That's huge as far as, especially in the spring.
Yeah. Good God.
Finally, Dave asked an intelligent question.
Dude, there's a first time for anything. There is a first time for anything. Yeah. I did that. You know what? Cheers to that. I got one. I got a good question. It took like 7 videos in to fish more gooder, but I got one, baby.
Got sit around, Sharpie on the wall.
Right? Yeah.
Mark it down.
Got one.
Mark the day.
Yep.
First check mark. Yeah. Gosh. So then, are there any lakes where, because you've been doing this for 10-ish years now?
Yep.
Are there any lakes that you just look at and you're like, oh, I can't wait to go to, that's my home field? Or, is it like, is there a local pond where you're like, oh, that's my home turf, this is good? Or you're like, I always crush when I get to go to this lake, whatever it would be. Yeah.
I think that there's...
Say pause for 1 second.
Yeah.
Dave, did you want to do like the lake talk like as a different video, or do you want to keep it as this one? Because I know that's where you're going and that's where you're pivoting with your question about lakes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to. I didn't want to start going down that rabbit hole until we said.
I think we could all make it part of one. This is we've been kind of talking about the boating, getting into it, the boating, and then it feeds into the lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's all part. It all be career topic stuff.
Yeah, it works, and then continue on.
So now I got to start over again.
Damn straight you do.
Whatever. At least it'll be a clean break.
That's why I said pause.
So
I was courteous.
no, it was good. It's good.
There you go.
Don't think we're good at this. This is the smoothest this has gone. Like, this has been
Perfect.
knock on wood. This has been some of the smoother.
I haven't been cut out 10 times.
Don't even put that. Dude, you literally just twitched. Don't put that juju out in the world. Dude, don't you do that. Keep that bad energy inside. Go eat a piece of pizza.
That's right, because of carbs in you.
Yeah, right.
Solid carbs, not liquid carbs.
No, both. Well, yeah.
So we were talking about the lakes.
Yes.
You know, lakes that you just look at like, I want to fish this lake. Like, I have mine, you know, literally from watching fishing on TV, where I'm like, man, they catch great fish. Fish. I said the word fish.
I'm leaving that in there.
You know, Okeechobee. I'm gonna butcher it again. I've already asked you once. Kissimmee, and you know, all that. Like, this is where they fish. Has there ever been one you've gone up to where you were just super excited because, like, this is my first time fishing this lake? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few, and I'll split it. Like, I always got to split things into like region of the country just because everything's so different.
Mm-hmm.
The St. Lawrence River, Thousand Islands, is up on the east end of Lake Ontario, is the number one place to go catch smallmouth bass in the world, bar none, not even close. And it's incredible, the fishery up there right now, and how far it's come in the last 20 years. But I mean, the Elite Series was up there, and I think 3 guys caught over 100 pounds of smallmouth in 4 days of competition. That's a 5-pound average over 4 days. That's insane. Like, there's very few largemouth lakes that you're doing that on in the country, let alone smallmouth.
Yeah.
So that is a bucket list for you to like get up there, find a way to get there, because it is truly incredible.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah. So that's probably the northern one. I really like Oneida, the lake in New York. Great Lake, smallmouth, largemouth, just a ton of fish.
Mm-hmm.
And those are my top 2 probably up north. I'll give you one hidden gem that nobody's probably ever heard about. It's called Pymatuning Lake. It's western Pennsylvania, and it might be one of the best fisheries in the Northeast that I've ever heard.
What was it again?
It's called Pymatuning. Pymatunin. Yeah, but those are some good ones up north. And then I gotta think. I love Santee Cooper. That in South Carolina, it's just a very unique lake. They got big cypress trees everywhere. Kind of sets up a lot like Florida fishing, but they got giant bass there too. I mean, you're just as likely to catch an 8-9 pounder there as anywhere else in the country. That's great. Like, I've only been there a couple times. We had a Toyota event there last year, but that is a fun place to fish. And then down here in Florida, I mean, my home water is technically the St. Johns River, but I love the Harris chain of lakes.
Yeah.
Lake Harris, Lake Dora, Lake Beauclair, Lake Griffin, that chain of lakes in the North Orlando region. That's where I would go to go fun fishing. You know, that's where I do go to go fun fishing. Like, if I'm going out, now I'm not practicing for a tournament, I'm taking my buddies out, we're going to the Harris chain.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So the chain, you mentioned there's a bunch of lakes within the chain.
Yes.
Is there, you don't have to answer, you could say don't worry about it if you don't want to answer it, but is there one spot in particular that you just like, this is where I take my best friend when he comes into town, because we're just gonna crush some fish?
Yeah. I go up to Lake Griffin.
Okay.
And that's one of the larger lakes on the Harris chain. And in the right time of year, the majority of the fish are much more catchable. for the average fisherman. And there's a lot of them too on that lake.
Yeah.
But and this is kind of where, I think Florida's like in general is a different beast. Is everything's so determined. Like your success is so determined by watercolor, and there's a lot of spraying of aquatic vegetation going on, which really screws up watercolor. But at any given time, like Lake Griffin or Lake Harris or Lake Dora, one could be really clear and the fishing could be great, and the other one, they could have come in and sprayed, or we got tons of water and then clouded up the lake and fishing just shut down. Like these Florida bass are very visual when it comes to feeding. So when they get muddy water, like they're eating somewhere, but they are very difficult to catch.
Yeah.
So it's all kind of about finding that right watercolor.
You fish these big chain of lakes. It's something I'm not used to. I'm used to a 6 mile lake. That's my territory. But when you have these multiple lakes with channels, and it's going to take time to get to the channel. We talk, efficiency when it comes to fishing. How do you make that judgment call of, I'm going to go through these channels and get, further away versus I'm going to stay close and just fish what's around me?
Right. And it really is a tough call. I mean, it goes back to, you have to weigh the time it's going to take you to get there and get back with how well you feel like you can catch them when you're there. So the biggest judgment call of the whole situation is, well, if I stay in this lake, I can fish for 7 hours. But if I go fish this lake that's through a lock, and through a canal, and through all these other different obstacles, I may only get 3.5 hours to fish.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a huge difference right there.
Right. So the decision then lies, can I catch enough weight to be competitive in 3.5 hours? And if the answer is overwhelmingly, oh yeah, I can go down to that lake and sacrifice, 3.5 hours of my day and catch 20 pounds, then you go down and do that. But if you're like, man, I'm okay over there, but not that good. Maybe I'd benefit from fishing 8 hours instead of 3.5 hours. I'm just going to stay where I'm at. Then you make that decision. But, there's been a lot of big tournaments won here very recently with not giving away too much information from guys that are almost running as far as they can from where we launched the boat and catching their fish. And I don't know if that's still due to like the pressure on the lake, that there's not as many guys fishing in those lakes that are farther away from takeoff. I don't know if that's just where the more active fish right now that are feeding are doing what, we need to do to catch them more effectively down on those other lakes. But, I'm a big component of playing your odds. If your odds are better to catch the weight that you feel that you need by traveling, a couple hours one way to get there and cutting your day in half as far as fishing time, I think that's what you got to do. But in the other side, if you need all the time you can get, and you need to grind it out where you're at the lake that you're in, and you need those 8 hours to get the bites that you feel you need to be competitive, then you better stay. But it can be those talking about decisions and keeping you up at night. That's a decision that will make you lose some sleep.
Yeah, I didn't realize just how much of your day it would eat up. Like you said, going through those channels and getting to other, lakes on the chain. Like when you say it literally could cut your day of fishing in half with the amount of time it'll take you to get there. I was thinking you might lose an hour.
Yeah.
No, you're going to lose half your day.
Jeez.
The biggest thing is the channels aren't as bad. I mean, there's channels that are a couple miles long, and you figure at idle, the fastest you're going is like 6.5, 6.7 miles an hour. But the major hiccup is the little locks that you have to go through. So these little locks, you're going from one water level to another water level. The gate opens, go to another canal. The issue is if you got 50, 60 boats that want to go to one lake that you need to take a lock to get there, some of these locks you can only fit 4 or 5 boats in at a time. And at the time, take 5 boats up the lock, open the door, let them out, close the door, let out the water, open the door again, can roughly be about 30 minutes per lock. So, if you got 6 boats coming through at 5 each lock, you're sitting there for a long time waiting for that.
Gosh,
can you fish inside the lock? Just have your line up there, just be waiting.
Never know.
You probably can. This fish are in a multiple, but I'm certain it's on there.
There's bound to be a fish in there. Someone's got to catch it.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that will fish in front of the lock waiting, but some but nothing crazy.
You know what? That's when you get a bobber and a worm.
Yeah.
Just
as you're waiting, just let the.
That's when you start playing music.
Right. Yeah, AC/DC time. Heck yeah.
Don't worry, the fish will be okay.
Yeah.
The fish won't care.
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, it's crazy. Travel time, I never thought I'd hit it down here in Florida with all that because, the lakes are typically bigger up north. You think of it more up there, but these locks and different travel hiccups, so to speak, and no wake zones and all kind of stuff can really mess with you.
Well, I had to go take care of the dog real quick, so I think I caught back up with what we were.
Yeah, no, you caught back up.
What we were rolling through.
So the last lake I want to touch on, as we go through this whole thing and it's because we haven't talked about it too much.
Yep.
Lake Okeechobee.
Yep.
Because I hear it all the time. They always talk about fishing it.
Mm-hmm.
You fished it.
Yes. So Lake Okeechobee is unlike any other lake in the country. There is nothing that even comes close to comparing to it. It is its own animal. It's its own. It should be on a different planet. And I say that for a few different reasons. One is because I've never fished it in the last 4 years where it's been at the same water level, not once. It's constantly changing. This year is the highest I've ever fished it. I mean, we can go into places that I've never been that used to be 4 feet above the water. So it is a completely different lake. And the other component to this lake is there's a constant battle going on with the spraying of all the aquatic vegetation. So, touched on a little bit, but when you kill any type of aquatic vegetation, they die and that sediment is distributed into the bottom of the lake. So that's where you get your muddy, mucky bottom. But if you get a hard wind that blows from one direction or the other, it churns up the water, and now all that nasty mud from all the decayed vegetation makes the water dirty and cloudy. Well, those bass don't bite in dirty, cloudy water. They're there, and they don't, I'm sure some of them move, but the whole population of fish doesn't shift, but they just refuse to eat, or they're very difficult to catch. So Okeechobee's in a constant battle of, where's the clear water? Where can we actually fish for these bass and be effective? And, there was just a giant tournament there. The Bassmaster Elite Series was there, and 95% of the guys were packed to 6 areas, the entire lake.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very difficult down there. So water level in general is a huge deal. Water clarity is a huge thing to look after, but it's now becoming a huge problem because there's just not much of it in the lake. And then you pair that with the fact that coming from a northern guy and not a Florida guy, if you drive your boat into Lake Okeechobee, everything looks like there should be a bass in it. Everything. And it's 30 by 30. Like, if you put your boat in the middle of Lake Okeechobee, you're not seeing land anywhere. It's an ocean. and almost if you are within 5 miles of shore, it feels like at times any part of that lake it looks like there should be a 10-pounder in it. So it's so difficult to dissect and truly figure out where these fish are. So it's a lake for me. I'm not gonna lie.
I have a question.
Tim's got a question.
Just because I was just looking around, like I was clearly having just what I'm seeing is the deepest spot in Lake Okeechobee is about 12 feet.
Yeah.
Is that true? Like in the middle of that giant lake, you're looking at 12 feet deep.
Yep, I think the deepest spots in that lake are actually in the rim canals, like the little canals that surround the lake, not in the lake itself.
Yeah.
That's how shallow that entire lake is?
Yes.
That's insane.
Oh my gosh.
So picture this. If you took a serving dish about that big and you put water in it, that is Lake Okeechobee. And if you get a strong east wind, take that little serving dish and tilt it this way.
That's what the water does.
Wind will seriously put an extra foot or more of water on the opposite side of the lake than where it was previously. Just the wind blowing.
Oh my God.
I can't believe that.
It's crazy.
I never knew this until I just looked it up. Then I saw something like max depth 12 feet. I'm like, that's not right. And I started Google, like, there's no way. And then multiple Google searches with different wording later, 12 feet. I'm like,
yeah. That's wild. So you could go a 2-day tournament. You get some strong wind one day. It's different. Completely different. You're not on the same body of water at all.
Yep. Yeah, you'll hear the term. My area got blown out. This north end of the lake is blown out, and that means a wind blew into the area, churned up all that nasty stuff on the bottom, and turned the water into chocolate milk, and that can it almost makes the area unfishable, but it can be an incredible fishery. Not to knock it as far as the amount of bass in the lake, the amount of big bass are in the lake, but I feel like at least not that I've been here forever, but in recent memory, some of the challenges that the lake is experiencing have made it a relatively difficult fishery, and the weights are still amazing. I mean, you can still go down there and catch 30 pounds, and sometimes 27, 28, most of the time it takes 27, 28 pounds to win a tournament, but the highest population of bass are in 6 or 7 areas of the lake. So that 30 by 30 lake that is like an ocean, fish is very, very small.
Gosh, that's insane. So what do you throw? When the water turns to chocolate milk and you're just stuck in it, you got to fish it.
Right.
So what do you throw then?
Yeah. I mean, that's if you have to fish it, and there's times when the lake gets real churned up. You always hear in Florida dark colors like black and blue, and one of the reasons for that is the tannic water. I was told when I moved down here, like, hey, Tyler, look for coffee colored water. I'm like, sounds awful. It sounds like water that's not clear at all, but really is that black coffee colored water is what you want for that tannic color. And it just, that black and blue coloring or June bug that really tends to pop down here, that type of thing. Now, didn't really answer your question there, but when the water churns up like that, I go with something that's a big profile, like a big jig, or that's going to displace a lot of water, that's going to potentially call on the bass in different ways than just sight.
Okay.
So that's going to create a ruckus. They're going to know it's there. They're going to be able to feel it. It's a bigger profile. But I'm still sticking with that black and blue.
Yeah. Okay. Just curious. I got a couple ponds by me that they're always just filthy. They're always dirty, and I know there's fish in them. So I was like, I wonder what he throws.
Yep. Dark colors.
Yep. That's
black.
I learned that
dark colored
the other
big.
day.
Okay.
We had a call with someone. We were talking about fishing stained, like heavily stained water that dark. And I'm like, oh, I'm always throwing white at that because I want the fish to see it. They're like, nah, darker color, mimic like kind of what they're saying is probably better.
Yep.
I'm like, oh,
Yep.
well,
right. I was in the same boat as Tim. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
hey, we're learning.
I mean, like, you think white would work as well, and I think there are times that it does. I mean, some type of contrast, white or like straight chartreuse or something like that. But I mean, for whatever reason down here, I don't know if it's the color of the brim or not, but a black blue deal is what they gravitate towards.
Heck yeah!
I'm still blown away by the depth of Okeechobee. Like, I'm literally looking at a map, like, that is such a big lake. How is it only 12 feet deep?
Only 12, yeah.
Man, you'll find you'll know a Florida boat. You look at any of the boats down here. There's no paint on the lower units of our boats now. Nothing. We're stopped on the boat. We're taking off in the mud, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
that's
you're
great.
Fishing Kissimmee this weekend, right?
Yep, Kissimmee on Saturday.
So I do want to say, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
And if we get the chance, maybe we'll jump on here in a few weeks and break down, how the tournament went, what went well, what didn't. Hopefully we hear how you got first place and, nailed it, hit the right spots. And
let's do it. Hopefully I luck into a couple of those 8s again and they don't just
how about
practice.
How about a 10?
You're on a tear.
Let's get that double digit.
Yeah, baby.
I'll take it on that time. That's perfect. I only need for those. I'll catch you on Monday. That's fine.
Heck yeah. And so for people that are watching and everything, we'll put it in the other videos as well. But how do people find you?
Yeah. So Instagram, my handle is T5HEP. So it's really T-Shep, just the S is a 5. And then Facebook and anything else, Tyler Sheppard Fishing.
Okay, cool. And we will put them in the comments, or I guess not the comments, but in the description below.
Awesome.
Throughout the whole series, we'll throw it up there. Because we always, we're so appreciative of you jumping on. Does it help you? Is there any sponsor stuff or?
Yeah, so the sponsors that support me throughout the year are very fortunate to be backed by some great companies. But Buckeye Lures is a big one. 13 Fishing, 6 Sense Fishing. I mean, that ridge worm has done some damage for me.
Yeah.
But Gamma Line, Enduro power batteries, they got probably the best lithium batteries on the market right now. I screwed up and discharged my boat for 3 days and still was able to fish on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
But
every fisherman knows too how difficult it is carrying a damn battery up of a wet, dirty, muddy hill or trail. You're telling us, I think it might have been, I don't even remember if it was in the video or not, but it was the batteries are paperweight light, which is just absurd. I have shin marks and scars.
Yeah. Let's not do that. Let's get you something lighter for me.
Yeah, God, yeah.
Yeah, Enduro Power, they've done wonders for my boat, but Waterland sunglasses, sight fishing is so key, and I feel like we find ourselves on all these lakes that you gotta look at bedding fish from time to time. So having good glasses, good lenses, and Waterland makes some great glasses. So, all those companies are key to some of the success that I've had. So
if people were to go online and buy stuff, do you have like a code for an acknowledgement or anything? If you do, we can get it right now. You can say it, or we'll include it down below.
Yeah, absolutely. I can send that to you for you to send it. It's usually T-Shep, 15 or 20 different site, but I can get you all that information for sure.
Cool. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure if
we'll
you go through your
there,
Instagram, you have that link that takes you to all your sponsors, and it has all that information right there.
Yeah, that's right in the profile. Should be in my bio on my Instagram.
Heck yeah! Well, shoot. Well, let's close it out with a
big cheers. Let's give a big good luck, Tyler, here coming up this weekend.
Hey, yeah, crush him! I can't wait to get a message or what.
I want to see those big. I want to see that 8-pounder become the 10.
That's right. I'm ready for it. Let's show it off.
Heck yeah!
Fish Gooder with Tim and Dave.